This is Pandora, my 1,000-gallon cloud rainforest vivarium, which is attached to a second giant vivarium on the floor above, called Orcadia, my treetop canopy vivarium, as well as by a cave tunnel to my third giant vivarium, Hydromeda, the tropical wetlands, and my latest giant vivarium, Verdantia, the tropical grasslands, soon to connect to the whole system. It's a personal biological project of mine whose purpose is to study the dynamics of wild ecosystems and document the secret lives of plants, fungi, and animals as they interact with one another in a complex and interconnected web of life. These vivaria have been home to a plethora of different creatures, and one such creature who entered our forest as a hatchling and grew up on its soils and past waters finally made an exit last year from our tropical system in order to undergo socialization training. A year later, he's much bigger and has passed his socialization program with flying colors, and as such, is ready for a homecoming back to the ecosystem that raised him. And I can't wait to share my plans of his epic return. But there are a few biological issues I need to address first. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Welcome to the AC family. Enjoy. Godzilla, my 2-year-old spectacled Caiman, has been an amazing student. He was recommended to me by the late Dingo Dinkelman, croc expert, who mentioned that Pandora, at the time when it had a 25-gallon water area, was large enough to house not one, but 2 baby caiman. But of course, seeing that this was my first crocodilian, one was enough. He ended up growing up in Pandora, happily eating insects, especially roaches. And when he reached a certain size, I knew it was time to begin his socialization training. So I moved him here in this holding tank, which is bare on purpose, as here he is unable to hide and could get more comfortable around me. It's gotten to the point where I can feed him with tweezers and come up to the tank without him freaking out. Before this, I could never approach without him darting away. This educational period was for my own safety, seeing as he is now approaching 4 feet in length and will grow another 2 or 4 feet in the coming years. And at that size, if he's still afraid of humans, he can get highly dangerous. But he's chill now, and at this size, I've been wanting to bring him back to the ecosystem, at least for a few more months, after which my plan is to have him move into my 60-foot outdoor pond in my yard, or to my friend's zoo, where he could live with other spectacled caimans and even choose to breed to pass on his genes. Whatever the case, Godzilla is truly an amazing animal whose impact on our tropical ecosystem I would still love to learn more about over the coming months. But AC family, there's just one issue that has to do with a chain of other issues that I've been racking my brain over for the past year. Another beast has already been dominating our forest. Valentino, my senior green tree python, had recently shed and was patiently waiting for his dinner. His last meal had been 4 weeks ago. Now, just a warning, this next sight may be somewhat terrifying, but the process for me is always humbling to watch. Valentino, come and get your mouse. He extended outward in anticipation, and once he could sense the meal, he struck at it and coiled. So as with all pythons, Valentino here is non-venomous and kills his prey by coiling around them and cutting off circulation. They're constrictors. After a few moments of squeezing, he was ready to begin the swallowing process. He began to uncoil. Snakes don't bite chunks off their meal and chew like we do. They swallow their prey whole, and the sight is always intense. Now see those holes along the bottom lip? Those are small specialized heat-sensing pits that function as infrared detectors, allowing them to locate warm-blooded prey like rodents and birds in complete darkness. He also has some at the front of his face, over his upper lip. Now, as cute and adorable as Valentino is, when he isn't eating, even as a snake owner for 2 decades, the feeding process still freaks me out. But you can't own a snake if you can't stomach the feeding process. Now Valentino here gets 4 to 5 mice every 3 to 4 weeks. This is the feeding regimen he's been used to his entire life, and it's worked for him. There are python owners who feed more frequently, but this for me is way too frequent and considered power feeding, which leads to python obesity, which, especially if you aren't breeding, can be unhealthy and isn't natural for the snake. In the wild, these snakes will sometimes go months without food, and Valentino here, as a tree snake, must be agile, nimble, and athletic, which he is. Slender, lean, and even a swimming machine. During ordinary periods when he's not preparing to shed, 4 to 5 mice every 3 to 4 weeks is just right. But here's where the issue is: how to integrate Godzilla back into the system while Valentino is also living here. These two reptiles have never shared the rainforest space, ever. Now, I'm not concerned with Valentino eating Godzilla. For one thing, Valentino only eats warm-blooded creatures, which is why he can live peacefully with other cold-blooded creatures like the tree frogs living here. Second, he won't eat anything larger than a mouse, not even a rat pup of similar size. But Valentino can do some serious damage on Godzilla through biting. On the flip side, Godzilla would happily make a meal out of Valentino and would not hesitate to swallow him piece by piece. I knew having the two reptiles share a space was not an option. Though I'm sure there are a few of you out there that want to see the carnage, both these animals, first and foremost, are my pets, and I will not mix them. But, as you may have guessed, I do have an idea. An idea I'm thinking of first trying out, up on the 2nd floor. Orcadia, my treetop canopy vivarium, has grown to become a place of great biodiversity. And I love watching all the action unfold up here in the trees. The dark horde, the resident and invasive black crazy ants, were feasting on a slice of orange. When they feed en masse like this, not even the fruit flies can get in, and they patiently have to wait on the sidelines for their turn to get at the fruit. Also wandering the treetops were my favorite ant species in the forest, the sapphire royals, our resident blue ants. I just loved watching these giant blue ants foraging the treetops for available fruit. They've been amazing survivors in the ecosystem. Also wandering the Orcadian landscape were the red ants, foraging the treetops' compost pits. Check out the chromatoblasters, our resident acrobat ants, all licking the leaf surfaces for remains of honeydew, a sweet byproduct produced and squirted off by the mealybugs. All the ant species in our forest, as well as other crafty creatures, like that young roach, are scrambling to obtain some well-needed nutrients before the onset of the dry season, i.e., the summer, where I live. Because when summer hits, many of the plants, like these banyan figs, which are already starting to yellow, shed their leaves in an attempt to self-preserve, a hibernation-like process known as estivation, in response to the extreme heat and lack of water. Once that happens, a chain reaction begins down the food web, where the mealybugs that depend on the sap from these banyan leaves also must hunker down and estivate once their host plant does, thereby stopping production of honeydew. At this time of the year, any and all sweets you can find around the forest are like gold. In light of the impending 2-month-long harsh and hot season ahead. But there's good news for all these creatures. There is a place where the ants and critters may be able to find some extra food resources, for an oasis of sorts will soon be available to them on a lush plateau nearby. In Verdantia, the lush and vast grasslands, a community of orange scale insects feed from the branches in the trees, and tending to them is the Sagittarius Army, another super colony of invasive black crazy ants that have been attempting to dominate the resources here in the grasslands. The black crazy ants tend to the scale insects, stroking them gently with their antennae and drinking the droplets of sweet honeydew they excrete. Now these scale insects and their ant caregivers are quite lucky, because the species of fig on which the scale insects are parasitizing just so happens to be an evergreen species of fig, which doesn't shed its leaves much even during dry season, and instead continues to thrive through the hottest and driest months of the year, which means the scale insects will continue to have a good supply of sap to drink from, and these ants will therefore have a continuous supply of honeydew. Now, as interesting as this evergreen situation is, I would love if these black crazy ants could have some competition up here, just so they aren't the only ones benefiting from this honeydew oasis. And so, a major project has been underway. For the past few months, I've been collaborating with my friend and architect, Ben, to construct an epic glass bridge to finally join Verdantia to Orcadia, to make all 4 Vivaria one whole connected system. It would essentially be a glass bridge which runs across the top of these windows. We carefully made the necessary measurements to ensure this glass bridge would be perfect. In the end, the glass bridge would look like this, running nicely across the top wall, over the windows, supported by supportive beams, and connecting to the top of Orcadia. This will officially be our 3rd glass bridge connection, but there will be something quite special about this bridge between Verdantia and Orcadia that will set it apart from the other 2. Have a look. Sunny and Cher, Verdantia's resident quails, emerge to hunt and forage. These highly specialized ground birds are designed to hunt in grasslands, with a smooth outline to help them torpedo through the plants and grasses as they seek out insects, plants, and seeds. Now, I've been waiting since last year for them to breed, and their breeding season finally arrives come summer, where Cher will choose a spot to create an inconspicuous nest, and the 2 birds will cooperatively raise the chicks together. They are now loading up on food to prepare for egg laying. But going back to the issue with Valentino and Godzilla, I don't want these birds to mix. Again, yes, I know this is an ecosystem, and it would be true to nature if Valentino were to eat our quails, which in my opinion are a bit too big for him still. But all these animals are my personal pets that are just lending their presence and biological impacts on our ecosystem for this entire project. So, I have come up with a solution to ensure the quails, Valentino, and Godzilla never mix. AC family, after months of mulling over the details, here is my ultimate plan. It's simple and the only way. A wire filter will have to keep our animals and creatures separate. A wire filter that is large enough to allow insects, like ants and prey insects, as well as small creatures like geckos, through, but small enough to keep key animals from passing. So our bridge between Verdantia and Arcadia will have to have these wire filters at both ends to keep Valentino from entering the grasslands, for now, and keep our quails safe as they enter their breeding season. These wire filters will be removable in case I ever change my mind or remove the quails from the system and want to give Valentino a chance to roam the grasslands. This to me is the best solution. Now, as for Godzilla, a lot of you have suggested that maybe I give Godzilla free roam in Hydromeda, the wetlands. And I could add a wire filter somewhere along the cave tunnel, joining Pandora and Hydromeda, so that Valentino doesn't have access to Hydromeda while Godzilla is living in its waters. But as much as watching our beastly croc swimming through our wetlands would be totally awesome, I am afraid Godzilla would eat every little fish, snail, and shrimp he can catch in these lush waters, and totally devastate this aquatic community, which has taken over a year to establish. Plus, Valentino comes here and swims, and I would feel a bit guilty cutting him off from a third of his home, which has already become a major part of his overall lifestyle. So I've decided that Godzilla will not be living in Hydromeda, and Valentino will still have access to Pandora, Arcadia, and Hydromeda, because I feel shrinking his living space at this point would not be fair to him. And so, AC family, I'm sure your big question now is, if Valentino will still have Pandora, Arcadia, and Hydromeda access, where then will Godzilla be living if he's coming back to the ecosystem? Well, AC family, it's time to share with you the details of a certain biological space I've secretly been working on. A grand idea I know you will all totally love. Vote in my community tab to affect this story